Welcome back to Lila the podcast. I'm your host, Alexa, and today I am joined by my friend. You know her. She's been on before, Lola.
Hello.
Lola's back. As promised, we said that she would be back after her super fun backpacking adventure through Europe in the beginning of the summer, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about
We're going to get right into it.
I'm so excited, and I'm so happy for you. I feel like you've taken this last year and or even 2 years maybe, and just really tried to travel as much as you could and made it happen.
Yeah.
And I love that, and that's super cool. And we'll kind of talk about what's next for you at the end.
Yeah.
But let's just dive right in.
Yeah.
Lola, where have you been the last few weeks?
Yeah, so I just got home about, I guess, actually over a month ago now, which is crazy. But I was gone in Europe backpacking for 7 weeks with my best friend, Allie, and we had the best time. First, we were in Eastern Europe, and then I went to Western Europe. So it was really amazing.
Yeah,
I highly recommend
both into the same trip. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like you moved pretty quick too.
Yeah. We did Eastern Europe for about a month and then Western Europe for 2 to 3 weeks. So it was a good balance. By the end of Eastern Europe, I was like, okay, I'm kind of ready to go on to the next part. And so it was kind of a good pace for me, because I think if I did too much longer in the Balkans, I would have been okay, I've seen it all.
Yeah.
Time to go elsewhere. It's not that big. It's big, but not huge. So
yeah. Plus, when you've got limited time, you want to see as much as you can.
Exactly. Yeah. So
well, I myself really want to go to the Balkans soon, and so I'm just dying to hear about that. That's where you started, right? Okay. Yep. So America to where did you fly into?
We flew into Croatia. So we started in Zagreb for literally one day. We were not actually backpacking there. That was just the main airport in Croatia. So flew into Zagreb and then went to Zadar, which is where we met a lot of people. One person in particular, we met and hung out with him throughout pretty much the rest of the trip. And then from Zadar, we went to Split, Croatia, which my favorite.
Really?
It's so beautiful.
Your favorite of the whole trip, or just your favorite of Croatia?
For sure my favorite of Croatia, but probably top 3 for the whole trip. My favorite city. It is so beautiful there, and when you go to the old town, it just feels like a literal fairy tale. It feels like it's a movie set.
Oh my gosh, I want to book a flight to Split right now. Okay, wait, is Split on the coast, or is that
it's on the coast?
Isn't Croatia kind of okay, can I speak?
Croatia.
Croatia. Isn't Croatia kind of all pretty much
yeah,
the coastline?
That's the main travel areas. Obviously there's inland, but there's nothing to really do inland.
Okay.
Everyone goes to Croatia to be on the coast, one of the many coastal towns they have, and they're all just so breathtaking. It's the Dalmatian coast. Fun fact, it's called the Dalmatian coast because that is where Dalmatians were created. I don't know, discovered.
Oh my gosh, interesting.
Yeah, so
I never would have thought.
Yeah, so if you ever go there, you're going to see the word Dalmatian. It's the Dalmatian coast, and it's just, it's the coast down Croatia.
Interesting.
And it is genuinely breathtaking. So when we went from Zadar to Split, we ended up accidentally on the scenic route, which is a 4-hour bus ride, or we could have gone direct, and it would have been 2 hours.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
So we accidentally booked the much longer bus ride, but hey.
When did you realize? When you took a million stops, or?
Yeah, I was well, we realized it when the night before when we were talking to our friend who was also going to be going to Split at the same time as us. And he's trying to figure out what bus ticket to book. And I was oh, this is the one we booked. And he's well, that one's 2 hours longer than this one. And I was what? I was well, it is what it is. I can't change anything now. But we had the much prettier route. It was down through literally town after town after town, and they just all so beautiful. I cannot recommend it enough. Just that drive alone. Our friend was telling us, he's I just want to literally just do that ride again. Not because I actually have anywhere to be. I'm not trying to go back to Zadar. I'm not trying to go XYZ. I just want to literally ride the bus to do that route again because it's so breathtaking.
Wow. Now I feel like I purposefully want to take the 4 hours. Yeah. Was it just cheaper?
I don't even remember. I don't remember because when I booked it, I think I was looking for a specific time. Like, I think it was the only one at 10 o'clock and I wanted to go at 10. It didn't even register to me like, oh yeah, there's a chance that other buses might be different lengths. Like, I just assumed it was all the same route. So I don't know. But it was worth it. Loved it. Highly recommend. Glad that we ended up on that route. But yeah, so we made it to Split. We were there for a couple days. That's where we went on a party boat. It was so amazing. Me and my friend Allie, we were just kind of like in the trenches for a little bit. There was some stuff going on with our other friend. And so we were just like sitting on this pier, looking over the water, sulking in our sadness. You know, sometimes that happens when you travel.
Right, of course. The drama of it all.
Yeah. So we were just sitting there and we're just like, we probably looked pathetic, but it's okay. And these 2 boys come up to us and they were like trying to promote this party boat. And they're like, what are you doing on Wednesday? And like, blah, blah, blah. They gave us a whole speech and we were like, okay, sold. And then we
they're so convincing.
Yes, they're like, this is the best party boat in Split. The other companies, they're trash. This is the only one you want to be, you know, like the whole like speech. And I'm like, okay, fine, you convinced me.
I'm kind of surprised you guys had like an opening in your schedule because I feel like you're pretty planned out. Like you have an activity for all the days.
Yeah, that's actually what we did differently about this trip versus my previous trips is we actually like, we had nothing set in stone before, like, except for like the locations. Like, we're like, we want to be in this city on these days. And then we would just like have a list of like, okay, these are the things we want to do while we're there. But we had nothing booked. So like when we got to Split or when we got to every city is when we were like, okay, let's figure out like exactly what we want to do while we're here. So we went into Split with nothing set in stone. So like, we're like, yeah, like, what do we want to do in the next 3 days? There's a lot to do. And I'm glad that we did it differently this time because in the past, like, it's almost felt like a little too rigid.
Okay.
When you're like, okay, like, this is what we're doing this day. This is what we're doing this day. Like, it's hard to, like, have zero flexibility. And, like, you meet other people and you're like, okay, well, they're doing it this day. Shucks. Like, you know.
Shucks. That's so adorable. Oh, shucks. Okay.
So we had all of our 3 days open.
So it sounds like you found like a good middle ground for you.
Yes.
To be very planned out and have an idea, but still have some flexibility.
Yeah.
Because for me, a big thing that I like about the flexibility is I always account for what if I get food poisoning. Because I do.
Yeah. I'm happy. I'm so grateful to say I think my gut microbiome is doing me something because I've never gotten food poisoning.
I would pay so much money to have your gut microbiome. Mine is weak. Mine, it doesn't take much. It takes one speck of dirt. Like, we don't
it's
like
that. Reject.
Yeah.
Spend 3 days over the toilet rejecting this one speck of dirt. Like,
yeah. But so I was interested to see what you guys did for this one and what you like better. Like if you liked the having things planned out because it was less stress while you were there, or if you felt like it was more stressful to try and be like, no, we have to get here because we have to do this. Like, what do you think about one versus the other type of trip? Like being super planned versus having ideas of what you want to do, but still leaving things kind of open.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think going into a trip, I need a general itinerary of like, okay, this is what cities I want to be in on these days. If I was the type of person that I just booked a flight and I was like, I'll figure it out when I get there and I'll figure out what I want to do. Honestly, like I wouldn't have enjoyed that. Like it just gives me too much anxiety. Also, I want to be able to go into my trips having done lots of research. And if you like just don't have anything booked or nothing planned, how can you know what to research? You know, so our friend that we made, he literally booked a flight for the next day and then decided to cancel it because he wanted to stay in this city and like blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, I'm going to go to this city and then this city and this city, but I don't know when. Like it was too unorganized. And like there was when we showed him our itinerary, he was like, people make this? People do stuff like that?
Yeah.
I need something. I need a structure, but I'm like, I realize, like I can't have all of my excursions booked in advance or like specifically planned on like what day.
Yeah.
I'll show up to the city and then figure it out, but I won't show up to a country and then figure it out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I will say I like the idea. I like the opportunity for something to take you off your path. Like, oh, I wasn't ever planning to go here. I didn't know this existed. Then I ended up there. However, I don't think I like that as an entire trip because I also feel like I've done it where I was just too relaxed and then I went somewhere and then by the time I got there, things were too booked up to do what I actually wanted to do.
Exactly.
Or I just felt like I would leave and then be like, damn, I didn't soak up everything about that place because I was just so chilled and just be like, I can leave whenever or this or that. And then I'd be itching and I'd just go. I'd be like, I've been in this town too long.
Exactly.
It's like, but I didn't do the things that I wish I would have done in that place. So I think that's a good happy medium is knowing when you'll be aware and knowing what you want to do when you are there, the rough amount of time that you want to be there, give or take a day or two, but also not necessarily like locking yourself into too much because things do happen. Like you might meet friends along the way that you want to travel with or be traveling with people and realize that it's not working out and you don't want to be tied to them for the rest of the time.
Exactly. And I know that feeling.
Yeah.
But that's the thing though. It's like meeting people along the way and it's like having that flexibility. Luckily, Allie and I convinced 3 separate men to completely drop their plans that they had and travel with us.
How that happened. 2 very cute, fun girls.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like, that's the really nice thing about it. It's like, thank God they were the flexible ones because with us wanting to be in certain cities on certain days, it does still like make it a little rigid. It's not that flexible still. And so luckily we found the people that were flexible. Yeah. Otherwise we would have said goodbye because we wouldn't have dropped what our plans were for another person. So it worked out. But yeah, so Split, we did the party boat. Boat. And yeah, we just like did a lot of exploring. We went out and partied, spent one of the 2 days, honestly, really hungover, but it's okay. And then after Split, we went into Bosnia, which was also extremely underrated. I don't know anyone who's ever actually traveled to Bosnia and been like, yeah, this is like a destination. Like it's not a very touristic area.
I was planning on skipping it. So maybe you can convince me, but I wasn't going to fit it in.
I can convince a lot of people to go to a lot of the places I've been because I just literally will be like, it's so amazing. Like, I love everywhere I've ever traveled. Like it just takes a lot for me to be like, didn't like that place. But yeah, Bosnia is extremely underrated. I do think though, if you have very limited time, it's not something that's a must see, but it was very, very beautiful. Right. And it's like got this very, very like peaceful vibe. Croatia is like go, go, go. Like it's very touristy and like it's a lot more populated. And then you enter Bosnia and then you're just zen and you're just like, okay, this is where I'm going to relax for the next 3 days and do nothing big. It's not like a party scene there. We stayed at a guest house. It was this woman who like ran this hostel guest house place. Literally, I felt like she was my Bosnian grandmother. She took care of me. She like took care of us. She home cooked breakfast for us every morning. And it was like this big breakfast. Aww. It was just so amazing. And like the people in Bosnia were really, really amazing.
And what are the kinds of things you can do there? Because Croatia kind of just took all of its coast. Yeah. Like it's like
no right coast for you.
No ocean for you. So
yeah, it's literally like it is inland. Yeah. We went on a waterfall tour. Like they've got some national parks. We did a waterfall thing. Honestly, it's in the mountains. There's hiking. We didn't really do much hiking though because we were only there for 2 nights, but I know that people go there to hike. We only went to Mostar, which is a lot smaller than the other place, which is Sarajevo, that most people go to. We were going to go to Sarajevo, but people and places and things happen and, we didn't make it there. But highly recommend, like, if you're already in the area and you have the time, I would definitely recommend, like, going to Bosnia for, like, a couple days.
Okay.
And then we went back into Croatia. So if you guys go look at a map, you'll see that Croatia hugs Bosnia. So, if you're making your way down, like, it makes more sense to go into Bosnia and then back down to Croatia because it's more south. I don't know. So we went to Dubrovnik, and here is my unpopular opinion. I think Dubrovnik is overrated, and I actually don't think I would travel there again. I don't know. It's overpriced. It's overrated. And
Croatia has seriously shot up so much in the last few years. Even when we were in high school, so I guess that's, 8-10 years ago, when I first remember hearing of, people going there.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, why are you going? I don't know. And I wasn't traveled at all then, so maybe this is just a very small point of view. Mm-hmm. But I do feel like in recent years, probably because of Game of Thrones.
Yes. See, everyone loves Dubrovnik because of the Game of Thrones, because that's where it was filmed. Mm-hmm. And Dubrovnik is one of the main coastal towns that people go visit. And the thing that I didn't like about it is that people who own the hostels, the people who own the hotels, they know that people will come and travel there. So they can set the prices to anything they want, and they know people will pay it. And
were they like crazy compared to the rest of Croatia?
Yes, it was double the price of out of everywhere I went in all of Europe. My hostel in Dubrovnik was the most expensive, even more expensive than London, which is actually insane. And that's
kind of crazy, because London is notoriously just expensive.
Like, it was the most expensive hostel we stayed in throughout the whole trip, but also the literal shittiest hostel I've ever stayed in. It was there were flies. There was, like, literally 30 flies, like, swarming in my bed, in my room. It was like you walked through, you entered your room, and you had to walk through a swarm of flies to get to your bed. And, like, you're laying there at night.
Itchy.
Yeah,
just
and,
the
like,
heebie-jeebies,
and the flies are just swarming, and it was disgusting. And, like, we were on the second story, and my bed was right next to the window, and right below the window was all the trash from a restaurant, which is below. And so, like, no wonder the flies are coming up into our room. It was dirty. There was no social, like, common space. Honestly, like,
that's a big in a hostel, always needs to be a social common space.
Yeah. I mean, that's where we meet people. Mm-hmm. And at this point, we had already made friends with three of our guy friends that, like, our three main guy friends that we met on the trip. And so they were with us. And so, like, there's our group of literal 5 people. And then, of course, there's, like, other, randos that you meet at the hostel that you're like, come join us. Mm-hmm. Suddenly the group is like 10 people. And the only space to sit is literally in the kitchen, which had 3 chairs. So, like, it was horrible. And, like, we're all just standing around, like, okay, like, where do we go? And, like, of course, they close the kitchen at 10, too. So we're like... So we went down to the beach one night and, like, all sat at the beach, but it was just, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just, like, didn't love Dubrovnik, and there's not much to do in Dubrovnik for some reason. Like, the only tourist thing was the walls, where you can, like, walk up on the walls around the city, because the old town is a completely walled in city. Mm-hmm. But it was $35 to, like, literally just walk along those walls, and I'm like, I can't justify spending $35 to walk on some walls. So we just went to the beach every day, and the beach was beautiful.
Yeah.
The water.
I'm sure it's still Croatia. I'm sure it's still beautiful.
Exactly.
You're just saying other places are cheaper and better.
Exactly. The water was so blue. And, like, we had so much fun in Dubrovnik, because that's where, like, we really, like, all kind of became really good friends as a group. And that's, like, where we went out. We had a lot of fun, but it was because of the group that we were with, not necessarily because of it was being in a really fun town. So, but don't get me wrong, still go to Dubrovnik if you, like, really are, if you are going to Croatia, like, it's still a place that I would recommend going. It's just,
and maybe if you watch Game of Thrones, it's more like interesting and cool. Not my type of thing, so.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I don't know. If you want to go spend a lot of extra money, go to Dubrovnik.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm sounding a little dramatic. It wasn't that bad, but
when you're a backpacker, your scale of what's expensive is way different too.
Exactly. When I'm a backpacker, I'm, like, literally chasing pennies.
Yeah.
Oh, this is $1 cheaper. I'm gonna go with that. And it's just like, when I'm at home, I'm like, okay, I guess an extra $5 means nothing to me, but then I'm like, $5 can go a long way when you're backpacking. Like, the hostels in South America were literally $5 a night.
That could get me another day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we did Dubrovnik, and then that is when we went into Montenegro, which I also think is underrated, like Bosnia. It's so beautiful. It's also in the mountains. The thing I love about the Balkans is, like, it's on the coast, and it's also got mountains. And it's, like, not many places that I have traveled. I guess, well, never mind. South America was also the Andes Mountains and kind of along the coast, but I only was in one coastal town, whereas, like, the Balkans is, like, you are along the coast the entire way down, but also in the mountains, and it's, like, amazing.
Yeah.
And it's, like, kind of the best of both worlds. I love the mountains. But, yeah, so, like, Montenegro, we went to Kotor, and we climbed this fortress thing, which was in the mountains, and it was so beautiful, right along the water. So like when you get to the top, you look over and like there's this beautiful bay of water, and then the mountains in the background, and it's just amazing. And the beach was really nice. We did like a sunset tour, or a sunset kayak tour, but unfortunately I suck at kayaking and I got stuck out there.
What do you mean you got stuck out there? Like, did someone have to come save you?
We had to. Okay, so we were like in the bay, and we were like doing like a peaceful kayak sunset tour. No, not peaceful. Not peaceful.
Kayaking is exhausting. It actually is. You think that it's just going to be this like peaceful, lovely activity, and then your arms are burning. And if there's any kind of waves, it's
game over. It's literally game over. Like,
so you were fighting for your life on this sunset kayak.
We were all fighting for our lives. Because like, so when we first started the tour, like, so it's like you're in a bay and here's the body of water and the land is around. So you start over here and you just kind of make your way. You turn around and go back. Like, but you don't go out into the ocean. But so we started on the water, and it was, peaceful, calm waters. And then the minute we decided, okay, let's turn around and go back, is the minute that Mother Nature decided to provide extremely strong winds, like white caps in the water.
She provides, indeed.
She just gives.
White caps. Crazy.
And like at this point too, like I wasn't drunk, but like we had been drinking wine all day. We went through so much wine on this trip. And like Allie didn't get a kayak because they were out of kayaks. So she was on a paddleboard. And
shut up. So that is even harder in like the elements.
Yes. And she's also like way more drunk than me. So like I look back and she's literally like
trying so hard. Oh my God, did she fall off at all?
No, we didn't fall in, but eventually we were like we went to shore. So like we were kind of like going back to our starting point, but the whole time we were like along the shore.
Okay.
So we all went back to shore and had to carry our paddleboard and kayak for like a mile. It was like a literal 20-minute walk.
You chose carrying it over just going in the water? That's how bad it was?
It was so bad because I was like trying to paddle, and for 20 minutes I didn't move. I was like paddling. Yeah, like I was paddling only hard enough to prevent myself from being caught with the wind. So like I like literally was stuck. Like I couldn't go.
That's actually so scary.
It started like raining or sprinkling too, like,
and the sun is setting. It's getting dark.
And I'm like, I was soaked. I was drenched in water. I don't remember. I was honestly so focused on like paddling, but like I was wet from either water splashing up on me from like the waves or rain. I don't know, but it just was. I'm not a good kayaker. Like I've gone like 3 times ever. If you do this, just make sure you practice a little or do something.
And when you sign up for those things, you don't really think about the conditions.
Yeah.
Like you figure, well, they'll say if it's like not great to go out or something like that. But a lot of times they don't want to cancel it unless they absolutely have to.
Exactly.
Because like, then they'd have to give people their money back.
Exactly.
So, okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Keep that noted because just, like it sounds like a great fun idea, and then you're like
maybe under the right conditions.
Yeah, like literally. But yeah, then we went, like our hostel was really amazing. Like it offered the sunset kayak tour, and like I really, really liked this hostel because of the fact that they really, really set it up for like a very social atmosphere. So they like organized like a barbecue dinner every night. They did the sunset kayak. They did a bar crawl every night. You like were set up to socialize, which is everything I ask for in a hostel. I hate getting to a hostel and then there's nothing social planned and you're like, okay, so I'm supposed to organically meet people, I guess? No. Yeah. Which I'm fine with, but like I just like to like have it organized for me sometimes. But yeah, so we did Montenegro for just a couple of nights as well. And then that's when we went to Albania for 2.5 weeks, and it was my favorite country for sure. Yeah. Albania is also extremely underrated. I do know that it's very up and coming right now with tourism. So like, I don't know, maybe I'm a trendsetter. I don't know.
It's probably because you went there.
Yeah, like if they pop off after this,
I know. That's part of why I'm feeling eager to get to the Balkans, because I just feel like it's about to shoot up in price.
No, I believe that.
And just 100%. Like tourism and everything. And I've been meaning to go there for years, and I'm just kind of kicking myself. Mm-hmm. So I think, yeah. Actually, I know for sure that's where I'm going. I just haven't booked it.
Yeah, no. It's genuinely, I don't know why the Balkans isn't more popular. It's just so beautiful. And there's so much to do. It just doesn't have the name
of like Italy and Spain and France. Yeah. But it's, yeah, I think it's going to get traction,
it's just so beautiful. And the thing I love the most about Albania, like I know this is in general for the Balkans, but Albania, like it has its own literal like mountain range. Like it has the Albanian Alps.
Okay.
Not a lot of places, like yes, like you're in the mountains in Montenegro, but it's not like a mountain range. It's just really large hills or something. Like I don't know, but it's hard to explain. But it's got the Alps, and then it also is along the same coastline as Greece. So it's like got like that beautiful blue water, like it's attached to Greece. So like when you think of like the blue beautiful coastlines of Greece, like that's kind of like what Albania is. Mm-hmm. And it's just like I'm like how has nobody like come here yet? Like why is it so under visited? I do know that for a really long time Albania was closed off for tourists because of their government stuff. Okay. So they recently have opened up. So maybe that actually plays a role.
Tourists weren't allowed there.
Oh, I guess that makes sense. But yeah, so...
Did you do anything in the mountains? Or you just like to look at them?
We went on a hike in the mountains. We did it's like you hike from one city to the next, but it's like you go over a mountain to get there.
Dang.
Yeah, so it was like a 7...
Did you train for that?
A little bit.
Did you feel like you needed to train for it?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It wasn't an easy hike, but it was not as bad as the hike in Bali. Nothing will ever be as bad as that hike. I don't know why that hike was so bad. Not bad, but it was so hard for some reason. I think I have learned how to like mentally prepare myself for these types of hikes now, because like I did so much more hiking on my last 2 trips, whereas like Bali, I'm like I was not prepared. Like that was my first like kind of like big hike on a trip. So yeah, so we hiked from one town to the next, but it's like over a mountain in the Alps, and the 2 towns are these beautiful little like mountain villages, and you like stay in a guest house and you do the hike, and then you go stay in another guest house, and like you can just go and do like it. Like there's millions of hikes to do in the Alps there. It's so beautiful, breathtaking. Like I literally thought I was like in the Swiss Alps. Like it's so beautiful. So we did that hike, and it takes 7 hours. I'm mentally prepared for it to be 7 hours though, so it wasn't that bad. And then we made our way to the coast, and just made our way down the coast all the way down to Greece. So we went on another party boat. We drank lots of wine.
Right, of course. Yeah. You're saying that you drank a lot of wine. Is that a big thing in the Balkans, or you just were enjoying wine because you were in Europe?
You know, I don't know if it's like big for specifically the Balkans, because like I think Rakia is the Balkans like main liquor. It's like a strong wine. Like it's a liquor, and it's made from grapes. So we did do a lot of like rakia shots. Like you're supposed to sip it. Girl, no. I can't sip
something that tastes yucky.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, this is my perspective on it. Okay, the shudder to like, no, it's, let me rethink this. It's like the volume to shudder ratio. It's like, why take a little sip and shudder every little sip when you can just do one big gulp with also just one shudder? Because you're like, ugh.
Right,
you know, and it's like
people that sip whiskey, or
yeah,
an old fashioned.
And I'm sorry, you enjoy that?
Couldn't be me.
Because if I'm drinking this, I'm trying to get drunk, and I want to shudder as little as I can. Like,
I think people don't drink just to get drunk, though.
That's super fair. I don't know how to like enjoy the flavor of alcohol, though. So.
And you don't have to learn.
Yeah. Something I'm content with in my life. Yeah. But yeah, like the wine is so cheap there. Like a bottle, a 3-liter bottle of wine, which is like literally comes in a plastic jug. It's actually so trashy, was €5. And I'm like, okay, yes, it tastes like shit.
How did you feel the next day?
I usually felt fine. It was never like bad. Like, I mean, obviously, like, it wasn't delicious by any means. Like, sometimes I did have to, like, you know, choke it down, but it was €5 for 3 liters.
That's a lot, yeah.
3 whole liters. Like, that's like a gallon. So, like, I'll take 3. Hammered. And we also were, like, in a large group. There was usually always 3 or 4 of us. So we went through, like, one of those a day.
Right.
Which is still a lot. But yeah, so we did Albania. Literally so amazing. Cannot recommend it enough. Go to the mountains. Go to the coast. Stay in hostels. The hostels there were definitely the nicest hostels we stayed in out of the rest of the Balkans. And this is another thing about Croatia. Is Croatia, like, is obviously, like, the most popular for tourism out of all of the Balkans. And so, like, they know people will come and pay a lot more money, and like for lower quality stuff. And so, like, the quality in the hostels was very different between Croatia and Albania. Like, in Croatia, I was spending like $30 a night, $35 a night in Dubrovnik for like a horrible dorm with no curtains. And then Albania, you're like, this is luxury. There's like curtains on every bed. They give you towels for free. Like, it is, the quality is so much better in Albania for the hostels too. But yeah, then we went to Greece for just a couple nights because that's where we were flying out of to get to Western Europe. So yeah, that was the month in the Balkans.
What did you think about Greece?
I think Greece was all right. Like, we did Corfu, so we were just there for 3 nights. Like, we didn't.
Were you in Corfu the whole time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Corfu was beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's not, like, the best, to be honest.
There wasn't much to do there. Like,
and you need to be able to drive, pretty much.
Yes.
But the roads are in such disrepair. Mm-hmm. At least they were when I went there, that it was like, but you don't really want to be liable for whatever happens to this vehicle. So it's
exactly. It was hard because, yeah, there is not much to do. I mean, it was beautiful. Like, there's always a beach, you know, like, whenever I say, oh, there's not much to do, it's like, well, there's always a beach that you can go to.
Yeah. And there are some really beautiful spots. Like, I went to a ton of really cool spots in Corfu, but could have done it in a day. You know? And the hostel situation in Corfu is weird.
It is weird.
There's 2. We stayed in opposite ones.
Yeah.
We went at different times. Obviously, I went like years before. But the one I went into, I went to one that had better reviews of like cleanliness, but there was no common social area. And I never thought to check for that because I just always assumed there would be one until I stayed in that hostel. And maybe it was off season or something. They had just had like part of the island was flooded. They just had some
my goodness
storm, which obviously I didn't know about because obviously I'm uninformed.
Also, like Mother Nature is unpredictable, as we know in Montenegro.
Well, maybe I should have checked before I booked my flight there. Yeah. But whatever. I was like, wow, flights to Corfu are pretty cheap right now. Like, no shit. But anyway, so it was a ghost town. I was in a 9-bed dorm, only person.
Yeah, that's how it was when we were in Corfu, and we were there at the beginning of June, and I know that peak season is like the end of June / beginning of July, but like beginning of June is still like peak time to travel to Europe and Greece. It was hot. We were staying in a hostel that had space for 700 people.
Oh my God.
Yet we literally were like one of like 30. Yeah. It was desolate. I think
horrible. I feel like Corfu, there's so many Greek islands. Like, you don't even think about it much until you get into looking into going, and you're like, oh my God, there's so many. Like, even like there's a ton you can't really go to, but there's a ton that you can go to. Yeah. And they're all these like different sections, and I think Corfu is just not the one for backpackers. Like, I think it's kind of more of a romantic place, which I learned.
Same.
And I ended up exploring the island with some I was 22 with some 35-year-old Swiss guy who was a teacher and photographer, and he took pictures of me and showed me how to use my camera. And then this other guy that was maybe 45 to 50. He's German and also Australian and also something else. And he was just backpacking around, and I was like, nothing like a unlikely trio.
No, we had a lot of fun.
It could have been dangerous. Yeah, but I felt the vibes out.
Yeah, that's actually
okay. At least there's 3 of us, and nobody knew each other. So I was like, who's gonna pull a fast one on me?
Yeah.
But just think about that's not necessarily. It was really fun, funny. It's a good experience, good story, but it wasn't really what I was looking for, especially as a young girl traveling alone. I don't know. I wouldn't say Corfu is where to go backpacking, to be honest.
We met no other backpackers, and the one person we did become friends with was also 50. Like, you know, but like,
yeah,
we didn't meet any other young people. Like, I guess the few other people that were staying at our hostel were like literally 18 or 50. I need somebody in their mid-20s. Like,
side note, I am always so crazy impressed by the 18-year-olds I meet while backpacking.
I'm sorry.
I thought that I was being really cool and brave.
I'm like,
meanwhile,
wait.
you're 18? Oh my gosh, when I was 18, I cried because I moved 2 hours away from home to go to college.
In the same state.
In the same state. Like, with people that speak the same language and the same currency and everything. Like,
yeah. Oh, 18-year-old me, like, would be shitting her pants at the idea of backpacking.
I wouldn't have even thought it was a thing.
Yeah, I didn't even know people did that.
Yeah.
I literally didn't even know that people, like, did stuff like that. Like, I was like, oh, people either, like, go on vacation to these places for a week, or that's it. Like, there was no other, like, options in my head. I didn't think, like, oh, people, like, go and backpack and stay in hostels. Like, honestly, I didn't know what a hostel was until I was probably 20.
No, for sure. Yeah, I don't think I knew until I was in college either.
Yeah.
Or, like, had never heard of it. Like, when my sister said she's going to stay in a hostel, I was thinking of the word hostile, like, aggressive, like, hostile.
Oh.
And I was like, you're staying in a what?
When I first heard the word hostel, I was thinking brothel.
Oh, my God, you had it all wrong.
Like,
you had it all wrong.
Like, genuinely, I associated hostels with brothels for some reason. And, like, I was like, people do stuff like that?
And they're
like,
just talking about it openly?
Yeah.
And there's an app for it?
Yes. But then everyone that I talk to, like, I stay in a hostel, they're like, oh my God, haven't you seen that movie? What's the name of the movie?
I don't know, but I haven't seen it.
There's a movie.
I'm not going to. Why would I do that?
Yeah, but there's a movie, I think it's literally called Hostel.
I think it might be called Hostel.
Yeah, there's a movie called Hostel. And everyone's like, oh my God, I could never stay in a hostel. Have you seen the movie? Like that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. It's not that bad. First of all,
sometimes it is that bad.
Actually, you're right. Sometimes it is.
But also, there's a way to like check these places out before you get to them.
Yeah.
When I've stayed somewhere that's really bad or seedy, it's because I ignored things that I saw, reviews, or it was just like, this is what's in the budget.
I was gonna say, this is what I get or this is what I get if I want to pay $5 a night.
Yeah.
Like, you know, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, but honestly, yes, some people like that you stay with in hostels can be like a little interesting, but like that is what literally is character building.
Yeah.
I am a changed woman after staying in a hostel for nearly 2 months straight, every single night. Like that, there is no home of like, oh, I get to go sleep in my own bed. Like, nope, I get to go sleep in this hostel every night for like nearly 2 months. And like it does, like it really like changes your perspective. Like it's a very like big growing opportunity, and like you meet so many different people and you can learn about so many different like experiences, and like you can also have some of your own experiences that like some might be like, oh my God, I can't believe you had to go through that. But I'm like, it's a funny story.
Yeah, you have to learn to be able to just laugh. I was talking about this in last week's episode, but I was like, you have to be able to just see some of these things and be like, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, of course this is happening.
Exactly.
Of course, like, the person right next to me or in the bunk next to me, like, woke up at 6 a.m. to do his little workout routine in the dorm and is, like, doing jumping jacks eye level with me.
No,
like,
literally.
Of course.
Of course.
And when people ask, how do you sleep when there's 8 strangers? I actually don't know. I don't know why I trust everybody, but I really do feel safe and hot. Oh my God, I'm going to eat my fucking words next to my backpack. I'm knocking on wood.
Never.
But I do feel safe in hostels. And if you don't, you just catch a vibe and you can always leave.
No one's holding you hostage there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something I learned too one time when I was really sick. And I was like, I have to book a hotel for tonight. Like, this is about to hit and it's about to be bad. Yeah. And I went downstairs and I was like, I'm sorry, I got to check out. Like, here's my key. And he's like, you literally checked in 4 hours ago. I was like, yeah, look, I've got food poisoning and I've got about 10 minutes to get out of here.
Yeah, no, literally. Yeah, I mean...
And he was just like, oh my God, yeah, of course. And obviously, like, you don't have to do that. You're not stuck anywhere anyway. But, like, I don't know. It's just...
The thing about it...
You didn't lose that much money either.
Exactly. And the thing about it, too, is, like, the other people traveling there are also there for the same experience as you. Like, it's, like, like-minded individuals. Like, so... We have to have something in common because something brought us both to the same hostel in the same city. And, like, obviously we're interested in at least enough of the same thing to be here in this moment in time. You know, like, someone who makes a claim, I would never stay in a hostel. Okay, good. I don't want you in my hostel then, because you're not the same like-minded traveler as me. You know, I like that it attracts the same type of people that I want to be around when I'm traveling. So like,
and I think that's why there's kind of that like blind trust in the other people in the room, because you just know everybody's in the same boat as you.
Exactly. We're all in it together.
And so it just kind of feels like everybody in this room also has to equally trust everybody else. And also, I just lock all my stuff up. I don't know.
No, same.
You know, I don't lock myself up, but I try to choose ones with curtains, I guess. I don't know. And you also just get so exhausted that you care so little.
Yeah. I mean, I got to the point by the end of my trip where I wasn't even locking my stuff up.
No, you're just like, literally no one's taking any. Who gives a
Also, I don't have anything valuable with me. I bring the bare minimum. Like, I guess everything, or I would at least always lock up my iPad and my passport. Anything else was literally probably max like $15 like per article of clothing that I brought. Like, I'm not bringing expensive name brand stuff. I intentionally bring like cheap clothes that I'm okay with getting dirty. Yeah, steal from me if you want. Enjoy my $10 swimsuit, whatever.
I usually have tech stuff with me, which is part of why I'm so diligent about locking stuff up.
That's super fair.
But don't bring anything that you couldn't, that it would be like devastated to lose.
Yeah.
I would be devastated to lose my passport though. So,
yeah.
Because I've had watch people get robbed and stuff, and it's just like, oh my God.
Pro tip, just bring copies of your passport. I printed out copies of my passport. I had one in all of my backpacks. I had I had a copy of Allie's passport in all of my backpacks as well.
Smart.
Like, because then if you lose your passport, you can just go to the embassy and you have a copy of it, and like it makes the process so much easier. That's just, and it's something as simple as like an extra sheet of paper that you have with you, like is like a little bit more security.
I always had 1 or 2 copies on me, and then I also have a Google Drive that I share with my dad.
Same. Yep.
That has my emergency contact info. And then I also wrote on a piece of paper emergency numbers and the people closest to me and their phone numbers, and I would put that in one of my bags in case my phone got stolen.
Yeah.
Because turns out I don't know anyone's phone number. I know my mom's and my dad's and my brother's and my sister's. But
yep, same. I have my mom, dad.
I don't know anyone else's. So I would actually be screwed, you know, if I couldn't get a hold of somebody. And I also give those numbers to the people closest to me in case they haven't heard from me.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, who would she have talked to?
Exactly.
Maybe Alexa has talked to Lola recently.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Yeah. And it's nice to, like, I have my location shared with like literally every single person in my life. So if somebody's going to notice at some point, if something's wrong, like they'll be like, oh, last seen 26 hours ago on like Find My Friends. Like that means my phone is dead. And I'm like, okay, you know that my phone would never be dead for more than an hour. Like, you know, it's like, there's so many safety things that I just naturally already have in my life that like I don't feel unsafe. I know people are checking my location. If anybody, I know my mom's checking my location.
Yeah.
I feel secure in just knowing that my mom can see where I am, you know? So there's reasons like that where I'm like, I just never felt unsafe. I mean, obviously, like I had a couple weird experiences. This one girl was she got really drunk one night and had just found out like bad news or something. And so she was like having a panic attack, but also was like really mad at the person above her in the bunk bed and was literally like tearing apart the bunk bed in the middle of the night.
What do you mean? Like throwing all her stuff off or?
No. So basically, the dorm was set up, you know how like there's bunk beds, like usually like a top and a bottom. But this room was set up where it was like 2 bunk beds were connected to each other. So it was like a quad bunk bed. So like all 4 beds were somehow connected. And so me and Allie were on like one side, like top and bottom. And then there was a couple they weren't a couple. They'd only been traveling together for like 5 days, but they were like romantic.
Well, that's a year in travel time.
Yeah, literally. 5 days is a year in travel time. But yeah, like, so this girl on the other side, like, had gotten, like, too drunk one night. And so me and Allie, we hadn't interacted with her, but we were like, okay, we're going to go to bed, like, early tonight. We're really tired. We want to get, like, a good night's sleep, have a fresh start tomorrow. So we went to bed at, like, 11. And we wake up at 1 a.m. to the bed aggressively shaking because that's the thing about like the 4 beds being connected is like literally if one of the 4 people move, it shakes the whole unit. And it's so we wake up, we're shaken awake at like literally 1 a.m. and this girl was on the other side she was on the bottom bunk, taking out the boards on the top bunk, like underneath the mattress of the guy on the top bunk. And at first we didn't know what was going on. And so at first I was like, oh my God, they're king. I was like, no, but
no, please, not on my night of rest.
Yes. I was like, okay. But then suddenly I hear the girl being like, get away from me, leave me alone. And I was like,
oh no,
what is going on? And so then I hear wood being moved out of the bed, and then I hear wood being thrown on the ground. Like she was dismantling the bed in the middle of the night.
How? Was he on it?
He was on the bed while she's dismantling it out from under him.
New top bunk fear unlocked.
Yes.
This is why I always choose bottom for convenience.
Yes.
But
yeah.
Oh my God.
No, literally. And
what the
and so I actually have a picture here. Did I ever show you this picture?
I never heard this story. How did this... Yeah. And she's saying get away, so you're probably thinking like, oh my gosh, somebody might be getting assaulted.
That's
right
what my first thought. I was like, what's going on? And so eventually after like the aggressive shaking was going on for several minutes and could hear the wood moving, and I was like, is everything okay over there?
Clearly not.
Suddenly it just goes silent. And like it was just silent for like a minute and then right back to it. And I was like, what the hell? And so this went on for hours. All throughout the night, this girl was uncontrollably crying, sobbing, hyperventilating, unpacking her bag, repacking her bag, in and out the door. I mean, I finally fell back asleep at 4 a.m. And even when I fell back asleep at 4, she was still like up doing like, it was just weird. So let me find the picture of...
But what, did the guy do anything that she's dismantling his bed?
No, the guy was snoring. He was dead asleep while she's doing this. I'm like, how do you sleep through that? That's insane.
Someone is literally taking apart your bed underneath you.
And you're just snoring.
I mean, I'm sure in the moment you were just like tired and didn't want to deal with it. But at any point, did you think about getting up and being like, yo, take it outside? At a certain point, I feel like somebody in the room would have yelled at her. You know what I mean? Like if something's happening, I've heard people be like, yo, dude, shut up.
No, yeah. I mean, that's when I at first was like, everything okay over there? And then it went silent. And then after like several more minutes, like, I mean, the way she had to like literally like jam to get the board out, like was shaking the bed so aggressively. Like me and Allie were like literally like,
was Allie awake during this?
Yes, we were texting. We were both texting. We're like, the fuck is going on? This is insane. Blah, blah, blah. Like we were just like, we were like, this is crazy. And so Allie and I like, that was the one time that I would say like I didn't feel safe because I just didn't know what was going on. I was really confused and I'm like, okay, like what is this girl doing? And so Allie and I like eventually like we got up and we got out of the room. Like we got up and left the room, and then we were like out in the hallway. We're like, what do we do? Like this is so weird. And like of course it's not 24/7 lobby open or whatever.
I hate that.
Yeah. So we eventually were like, okay, let's just go back in and just finally. I fell back asleep at 4 a.m. I woke back up at 8. I just went to go to the bathroom, and as I'm getting up to go to the bathroom, the girl is still awake in her bed. I'm like, did she sleep for 1 minute? Anyways, so as I'm like getting up out of my bed, I can see that she's sitting in her bed, and this is literally me looking over at her. I was literally like, who is this bitch? I need to see who you are and the torture you put me through last night. Anyway, so I go to the bathroom, and she happens to come to the bathroom right after me. So I'm like washing my hands, and she's like, I'm so sorry, like if I may have kept you up last night.
If you may have, you reorganized the room.
You reorganized the entire room and the entire unit of bunk beds. Like, yeah. What the fuck?
You built new furniture.
Literally. Yeah. And so I like, and also in this moment, I was so tired. I was like still half asleep. And she's like, I'm sorry if I kept you up. And I was like, I look at her and I go, that was crazy. That's the only thing I said to her. And I was literally like, that was crazy. And she's like, I'm sorry. Like, I found out, like, my mom had a heart attack. okay, like I found out later that she had, like, her mom had a heart attack days ago. So like I was thinking at first, I'm like, oh my gosh, she must have just gotten the news and was like having a panic attack. And so in that moment I was like, I'm really sorry to hear about that, but like, why were you dismantling the bed?
I'm so glad you asked her.
I was like, why were you dismantling the bed in the middle of the night? Like, that was crazy. And she's like, the person above me, his laptop was stuck up there and I was just getting it out. And I was like, what do you mean his laptop was in the bunk bed? And so then I was half asleep. So I just was like, okay, well, sorry to hear about that. And then I just went back to bed because I was like, I can't even process this right now. So I wake up at like 10:30 and we're eating breakfast, and the guy didn't know he was, like, I didn't know what these people had looked like because I had never seen them.
Right.
But I'm eating breakfast and this guy comes down. He's like, yeah, like, I had the weirdest night's sleep last night. And I go, I think we were in the same room. And he's like, oh my God. I was like, what was happening? And he told me the story of him and this girl had been traveling together for like 5 days. And because of her mom having the heart attack, she, like was needing like extra love or whatever. So she was like trying to get him to sleep in her bed with him that night. And they were all out like socializing just like on the patio. And she was like, okay, I'm going to go to bed now. And he's like, okay, sounds good. I'm going to stay out here a little longer. And she went in and got pissed that he didn't come in right when she did. So she was, I guess, really upset that he was just, like, he kind of like dismissed her or something. And so when he finally came in 30 minutes later, he was like, okay, like I'll sleep in your bed with you. And she was pissed, I guess. Like she was just really upset. And then she was like starting to having a panic attack about her mom. And like it turned into a spiral. But like the weirdest thing is he did keep his laptop in the bunk bed. He did.
Like under the slats?
Yeah, like that's where he kept it for like security. Like he would, like that's where he would hide his laptop. And I'm like, dude, there's lockers for a reason, but whatever. That's beside the point.
That seems like a good way to break it.
Yeah. Well, it was in a case.
That's still really bizarre.
It is. And like, because when I had woken up that morning, she had already checked out. When I woke up at 10:30, she had already checked out. And so I went and looked at her bed. On her bed was literally a laptop and the board.
Sorry, I dismantled the bed.
Yeah.
P.S. Literally. Bye.
Yeah.
Don't charge me.
Literally.
That's really... She should have gone in the lobby at least, or like woke him up if she was like really panicking.
But that's why when I woke up and I heard her being like, leave me alone, that was her being like pissed at him. Like they had... I don't know. So that was the one situation where I was like, this is bizarre. Like, but other than that, like...
I'm so glad you actually told her. That was crazy.
It was crazy. I don't know. Like, at the end of the day, too, like, a man told me his side. I want to hear her side about why she was actually mad at him, because I'm like, the way he told it was like, yeah, she was mad at me. I did nothing wrong. And I'm like, okay, like, obviously, like, there's probably a little more to the story. She was so angry at you.
She took apart your bed in the night?
Like, literally, but, like, I'll never know.
And, of course, he snored all the way through it.
Yeah, I'm like... I'm sorry, this girl just yelled at you to leave her alone, and you go up, immediately fall asleep while she's actively dismantling your bed.
Bizarre.
Yeah, that was weird, but...
Okay, what city was that in?
This was in Albania. This was in Berat. Yeah, that's the thing. Albania, so amazing, but the weirdest things happen there where it's like, huh. Like, I have a list in my phone. It's called The Happenings of Albania. Because, like, just the most unexplainable things happened. They're not necessarily, like, unexplainable in a bad way, but just, it was, like, every day, like, something interesting was going on, and I'm like, wow, like, this is just so Albania. Like,
you were on the news.
I was on the news. I was literally on the Albanian news. News 24.
I'll have to link it on my Instagram the day that this is released.
No, literally,
Why were you on the news? How did that happen on the Albanian news?
So, basically... Our friend Grant, he's one of the guys that we traveled with for 3 weeks. He had a tattoo on his knee for a brand of beer that is an Albanian beer. Like, it's a local beer, and it's the most popular beer in Albania. It's called Croatia. And he has already been to Albania like several times, because that's the thing about Albania too. You go there and you like fall in love. That a lot of the people we met there were like, yeah, this is like my 10th time in Albania. And I'm like, interesting. You know, like I'm trying to travel to like one place and only go there once because I have a million other places that I want to go. Mm-hmm. So this is Grant's 3rd time in Albania in the literal last 2 years. And big so Albania guy. Yeah, big. And he had the tattoo on his knee, and because he loved Croatia. And so when we were on our hike in the mountains, we had like, there was this beautiful waterfall, and like he had a can of the beer. And so like someone took like a really like aesthetically pleasing picture of his tattoo with like the beer can, which is like kind of like it's a really cute beer can. It's got like a lady in a red dress, and she's like, and it's just like a really cute logo. Anyways, or the picture was of his knee, the bottle of beer, and like this gorgeous waterfall in the background. Yeah. And it was just a really nice picture. And someone sent it to Croatia. One of his friends just sent it to Croatia on their Instagram. And Croatia literally reached out to Grant and was like, hey, can we interview you on the news about your Croatia tattoo?
Oh my God, and that's so cool.
Yeah, so we were like, slay, okay. So we met up. We happened to be in the city that they wanted us to be in. So we met up, and of course, like, I showed up, and I was like, I'm just here to, like, support Grant. I'm not actually trying to be on the news. But we get there, and the newscast is like, okay, everyone sit down, get in front of the camera. And I'm like, me?
Well, okay.
Everyone says, like, all right. Yeah, so, like, but it was so awkward. I was like, I've never felt so mute in my entire life. Like, this was my time to shine, and I flubbed it. It's okay.
Certainly they weren't speaking English either.
Yeah, no. Like, if you watch the video, like, you won't understand anything. You're just watching the video. You're not actually, like, listening. You're just watching it.
That is such a, like, cool, funny thing to have in your back pocket, though.
Literally, like, I'm like, yeah.
You were on the Albanian news for a beer.
For a beer that I didn't even like.
No, you're the biggest fan. You're the spokesperson. You're the new face of Croatia.
Exactly. Might as well put me on their next beer can. I mean, I don't like beer in general, but out of all the beers I've tried, I actually did like Croatia. Yeah. I would never, like, spend money on it, but I liked it.
But are you going to get a tattoo on your knee? Probably not.
Probably not. But yeah, so we were on the Albanian news.
The happenings of Albania.
Long list. Maybe a story for another time. Some of them are maybe not podcast appropriate. But, like, you know, like, that is why I think I loved Albania so much, too, was just the experiences that happened there. Like, I have so many stories from Albania that I'm like, wow, like, that, I've never had stories like this from other trips. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's just weird things. It's like you live in an alternate reality. Yeah. And you're like, am I on planet Earth right now, or is this really happening to me? But yeah, so after Albania, went to Greece, and then we made our way over to Western Europe. Did a week in London, which was an emotional roller coaster. Yeah. I loved London. I loved the city of London. I really, really, every day I'd step outside and be like, I love London. Yeah. But there was...
La, la, la. Yeah. That's our Disney princess Lola coming out. The sun is shining. The birds are chirping.
And that's actually the thing is like London is a gloomy city. Like, it's cloudy and, like, it's kind of like... It's not, like, a very, like, sunny place. But the day we got there, it was sunny every day.
Oh my gosh.
We got so lucky. It was like a little
when it's sunny.
Like, it was a little chilly, but, like, honestly, it was literal, like, the day after we left, they had, like, torrential downpour and, like, near snowflakes. Like, they had hail.
After you were just bouncing around the coastline down in the Balkans and you go.
No, literally. So we just got really, really lucky. We did all the touristy things there is to do in London, like Buckingham Palace and Big Ben. We went to Harry Potter World, which was really cool because I didn't realize that was where Harry Potter was actually filmed. Like, we were on, like, the film set of Harry Potter. Like, we saw, like, all of the actual props that were used in the movies, which was really cool.
That's so fun. I'm glad that we started watching the Harry Potters before you guys left. Yeah. That was super fun. That was something that we did. We watched 1 and 2. Did we get to 3?
Allie and I started the 3rd movie on the plane, and then I couldn't stay awake, so.
It's really intense. Yeah. I love 1 and 2, but it does get pretty intense in the later ones.
Yeah.
But you saw what you need to see.
I saw enough to be able to appreciate Harry Potter world, you know?
Yeah.
It was also like an emotional roller coaster while we were there. Like, we had some friend stuff going on with our friend. We were supposed to meet up with a friend there. Didn't really work out. I was, like, emotional about that, and then, like, I don't know. So, like, there was emotional stuff going on at the time. So, like, I think that played a big role in, like, me kind of almost being travel burnt out.
Yeah. And what point was that? Was that, like, week 6 by that point?
That was week 6. And, like, Allie was leaving after London. So at this point, I'd been with her for 6 weeks. And, like, knowing that she was going home, I was, like, suddenly I'm like, okay, I want to go home too now. Like, Allie's leaving. And just all the stuff that was going on with our relationships, I was just like, oh my God, I'm tired. I just want to go home now. But I still had a week and a half left, and I was going to Portugal. Portugal was amazing, though. I met up with my coworker, Kara, and
I didn't realize you were coworkers. Yeah. I thought that she was a friend that you had met traveling.
No, yep. We worked at Woodwinds together. We worked in the trenches at Woodwinds emergency room. Yeah, so it was really nice to see her. Portugal was amazing. It was beautiful. We went to, like, the southern coast, which is, like, the Algarve, and, like, that's the primary destination for people traveling. In my personal opinion, I think that Portugal is a little overrated in comparison to the Balkans. Like, having come from the Balkans, which was breathtaking, every view. And then people, like, you know, when I tell people, yeah, I'm going to Portugal, they're like, oh, it's so beautiful there, I've heard this and that. And I'm like, okay, well, clearly those people have not been to the Balkans, because I thought the Balkans was more impressive.
Okay.
I think that everyone raves about Portugal because they know Portugal is pretty, like, it's, like, more talked about.
Yeah.
But it was still beautiful. The water is very blue. I had a lot of fun. We didn't, like, do much. We did just a lot of, like, beach days. We went on a boat tour. We went surfing in Lisbon, which was really hard. But by the end of Portugal, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
It's been amazing. I'm sad to go, but get me home. Yeah. Like, and I just have so many big things coming up in my life right now that, like, I was just, like, getting really antsy to get home to start my next era of life. And so I think had I not had that stuff to come home to, maybe I would have felt a little differently. But I was like, 7 weeks was the perfect amount of time. Like, I was ready to come home. I was like, okay, I got my traveling out of my system. I'm ready to go back to school, ready to get back into, like, a routine. And so that was Europe 2024.
That was so helpful for me, because for my next trip, I had to decide between Portugal or the Balkans.
Yeah.
And I'm not going alone this time, but I kind of got to make the call because they were like, yeah, just whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And they're just really not close to each other at all.
No.
And so I was like, okay, I think I have to choose, and maybe it would be like a Portugal, Spain type thing for a trip together versus, and then the Balkans together. So we did decide on the Balkans.
Yay!
And I'm feeling better about that after our conversation, because I also have just been feeling this pull to go to Portugal. Like, I want to go so bad, but also I just feel the need to go to these places before they blow up. And I've been meaning to go for years, and I know, like, no matter what, it's going to be beautiful and amazing. Yeah. And also, given my travel budget, I think the Balkans will be a better option for this one at this time in my life.
Exactly. Like, Portugal, like, I'm going to be honest, like, I was unimpressed with the hostels there versus, like, the hostels in the Balkans were a lot better. Also, Kara got bed bugs in Portugal.
That's a swear word in my language.
Like,
terrifying.
Yeah, and she got bed bugs at 2 separate hostels on 2, like, the complete opposite side of the country. Like, one was in Porto, which is the very north of Portugal, and then the other was about as far south of Portugal that you can go. So it's like, okay, so are they having a bed bug issue right now? Like, why 2 places in Portugal, like, she got bed bugs?
But I'm also, you said that you guys, like, didn't wash her clothes or anything.
Well, she got bed bugs the day after she did her laundry. I didn't wash any clothes, though, and nothing stuck with me.
Just because I'm wondering if maybe it was the reason she got them the second time was actually because, like...
I thought about that, actually.
Gross words I'm about to say. Eggs had been hatched.
Yeah.
And she took them with her. And also, it's not like Portugal is just ridden with bed bugs. Like, bed bugs can happen literally anywhere you go. It can happen in hostels, but it can happen in hotels.
That's the thing.
I had a bed bug in my bed last week when I was at a resort that we've stayed at, like, time and time again. Luckily, though, it was just the one. Like, they came in, cleaned, changed our sheets, everything. They didn't find anything else. Like, there was no other issues. I never had any bites. I just literally saw the bed bug crawling across my sheet. I'm surprised that I slept the rest of the week.
Oh my God, that's insane.
The next day, because my sister studies bugs, like, or she did. She's a big bug girl.
Yeah.
We're so different. So it's kind of nice when I'm like, I need you to look at a bug. So she's saying it might not be one, blah, blah, blah. But the next day, after, like, they cleaned everything and, like, came in and checked and had someone from the resort come check, she was like, yeah, that was totally a bed bug, but I didn't want you to freak out. She told my dad in the morning, and he was like, do we have to move? Do we have to move where we are?
Yeah, no, bed bug bites. Oh my God, poor Kara. They were just all over, like, her entire arm. So, like, they would bite her on the side she was sleeping on. So her entire left side was just riddled in bed bug bites, and, like, her legs on her face. I mean, it was horrible. And they were blistering. I mean, but that's the thing too. Like, people are like, "Oh, that's why I can't ever stay in hostels."
I know, it's honestly enough to make me want to never do it again.
Yeah,
even the thought of it.
But then I'm like, hostels, like, or I mean, bed bugs are. They can be anywhere. They can be in resorts. They can be in hotels.
And you just have to check your bed before you get in it. Like, you can check along the seams of the mattress. You might feel, like, a little bit crazy, but I always check, I don't know, before I unpack anything. Well, exactly. I say always. Probably, like, the first 2 weeks I check. And then after that, I'm like, and I lay on my bed in my backpack.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care anymore.
Literally.
Even though I would totally care.
Yeah. But no. So, I mean, I don't know. I love Portugal.
Happened to you.
Yeah, I was
grateful,
in the clear.
Blessed.
Maybe I just got bad tasting blood. Who knows? But Kara must be delicious.
A curse,
because they were fed for weeks after what they got off of her.
Oh my God!
Oh, it was horrible.
I would want to book a flight home.
Oh, she did. She came home like immediately after. Yeah, it was horrible. After that, I'm like. But I'm glad it was at the end of my trip.
Like, maybe I'm so happy that the end of my, like, 2 years of traveling free, like, traveling wild and free are over and escaped without any bed bugs for you.
Exactly. But luckily, like, everything about the trip went so as planned. It was so amazing. I didn't get sick this time. Like, when I was in South America, like, I had a pretty bad head cold. I shat my pants. I, like, it just was rough. But in Europe, luckily, I never had a single, like, moment of, like, sickness. I was healthy the whole time, and I'm so grateful for that. But yeah, it was overall really amazing, and love me a good European summer. Love me some good travel love.
Yeah, of course. There's always going to be a little romance.
But
maybe your lips are sealed.
Yeah.
But just know that there was some.
Exactly. But yeah, so it was amazing. So
Yay.
But yeah.
Well, thanks so much for telling me about your trip,
Lola.
That was so fun.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited for you for the next stage of your life and what you're up to next, and where are you going next?
Yeah.
Why was this such a crunch to get your travel in?
Yeah. So I am going back to school
Woo!
I'm going to PA school, and it's down in Iowa. So I got my apartment set up a couple weeks ago, and I'm, like, moving in for good. I'm about to get back into the swing of school and eventually become a PA. And I'm really excited. Yeah. And it's going to be, like, I believe that, like, being a PA is, like, literally, like, my life calling. So I'm so, so, so excited. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad I got my traveling out of my system. Like, I feel like I can go into, like, my schooling now being like, okay, I did what I wanted to do for the last 3 years. Like, I've lived such a good life the last 3 years, but, like, now I'm like, okay, time to go back to school. Yeah.
I'm proud of you for taking the reins and, like, taking that stuff seriously and going and making it happen. And now it's time to put your head down and study, but excited for the next thing. And
yeah, I'm very, very excited. So it's going to be good. But
well, thanks. And that's what we got.
Yeah, I think that's, if anyone has any questions about the Balkans, shoot me a DM.
Yeah, hit up Lola. If you really like the episode, if you've been enjoying Lila the podcast, please go ahead and give a rating, review, wherever you listen, or you can be like Lola and be an overachiever and go on all of the platforms and give it a rating.
That is exactly what I did. I gave 5 stars on Spotify Premium. No, just Spotify and Apple Podcast.
Which are the 2 most popular, so that's what matters. But it really, really, really helps out. We really just want to reach more people. There's new guests every week, sometimes recurring, like Lola has been on here before. She'll be on here again before she goes to school. I don't know when that one will come out, but this one will come out pretty quick. So yeah. Yay. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me. I love just being on here.
In the studio.
Yeah. Another day in the studio.
The traveling studio. Every episode. That's what we got.
Yay.